Los Angeles Chargers had some big decisions that they needed to make ahead of NFL free agency. Who were they going to bring back onto the football team? Was there going to be a franchise tag situation? And how was general manager Joe Hortiz going to revamp this offensive line that was, frankly, in my opinion, the worst in the National Football League? This is Chargers Now. I am your host, Will Ortner, and we got some big breaking news in the last 24 hours around two big decisions that the Chargers were going to have to make, and that's why you subscribe to the channel, because as soon as that news breaks, we're going to come in and give you a detailed response about why those moves were made, and if it's not a shocking reason of why a certain move was made, where the pivot can be for the Chargers next. So make sure that you hit that sub button. We're going to have you covered throughout the year of 2026 on the Los Angeles Chargers. Free agency, opening tampering period, that starts on Monday. So we're going to have all kinds of news going around flying about your favorite team. Hit that sub button. You won't miss out on any of it. The big move that we're going to start with came through this morning from ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, and that is Mekhi Becton and the Chargers are no longer a part of each other's lives. The Chargers are going to release Mekhi Becton, and that's going to save the Chargers about $9.7 million on the cap. So now the Chargers go from being one of the top teams to being even higher on that end of the top teams with some free agency cap space. So that's very positive for the Chargers. They're going to be able to have a lot of money, and they're going to be a big-time player in this free agency period. Now, when it comes to the Mekhi Becton news, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I didn't see this one coming. This is a shocking development. It isn't. Mekhi Becton was horrible this last year in LA. You can just go through the grades, and it's clear that the Chargers, they took a swing on a player, and frankly, he just wasn't good enough. Pass pro was horrible. Run blocking, horrible. The sacks allowed number, okay, cool. Penalties, not great. What I would say with Becton as well is he seems to kind of have reverted back to what he was with the Jets. There was kind of a hope that Philadelphia had fixed him. They had changed him. I understand why general manager Joe Hortiz came out and signed him last year in free agency, but it's clear that Mekhi Becton is just not it. He's not good enough, gave up way too many pressures, gave up way too many QB hits, was penalized way too much, and just wasn't getting the job done. So clearly it was a time for a change. And I think that we all knew that the Chargers were going to come in and revamp that offensive line. Now, I think it's fair to say that the tackle positions, you have to feel pretty comfortable if you are Chargers fans or in that Chargers front office. I feel really great about Alt. I feel really great about Slater. They're both two of the better players at their positions when they're healthy. They just weren't healthy all last year. But when we look at the interior offensive line starters during the 2025 season, you can see that there's going to be some big moves. Even if Zion Johnson is brought back, which is still a big possibility, you're still going to have to find a new right guard as well as a new center because Bradley Bozeman retired and Mekhi Becton, obviously, he is no longer with the Chargers. So how does the Chargers offensive line look right now? Because I think there are some that might say, well, maybe the Chargers just need to go get one guard, or maybe the Chargers just need to go get a center, and that will end up revamping an offensive line to fit Mike McDaniel's system. But I'll tell you right now, it doesn't look all that strong. Zion Johnson is in there as a placeholder. He is obviously a free agent. His backup, Trevor Penning, is also going to be a free agent. Andre James, he was the backup center listed after Bradley Bozeman retired. He is no longer there. And then, hey, shout out to Graham Kapowson, Washington High School alum, Foster Sorrell. He has now moved into that starting right guard position, but to sit here and say that the Stanford alumni as well in college is going to be the surefire pencil in as the starting right guard seems a bit excessive to me, seems like a bit of a reach. So clearly when you look at this crew, you feel great about the two bookend positions, and at the end of the day, that is the two most important positions, I would say, or at least two of the three. You feel good about left tackle, you feel good about right tackle. Where do you move? Where do you pivot to go get new guards potentially as well as a new center? When we look at the free agent guard list right now, I did not list Zion Johnson because, well, we've already talked about him and we know where he's going to be. So some of the top free agent guards out there right now: Alijah Vera-Tucker, David Edwards, Isaac Seumalo. Seumalo has had a lot of links with the Chargers, and he's also someone who's been in the National Football League for a while. Seumalo could very easily come over to LA and be an instant plug-and-play type of a guy. He's had a lot of success in his career. Is he going to blow the bank up? No, not necessarily, and that could potentially leave the Chargers more room to go after a center like Tyler Linderbaum. Wyatt Teller and Ed Ingram are also free agent guards right now. They're all listed with their potential, or with their former teams, I should say, or potentially former teams. I like the free agent class right now. I do think that the Chargers are going to get at least one guard in the free agent class, even if that's just re-signing Zion Johnson. But there are plenty of moves that the Chargers could make in the NFL draft as well. This is a class that, while it isn't necessarily loaded with interior offensive line talent, there are a couple of different guys that the Chargers have been linked to, and one, frankly, that I think when I look at the draft is a clear must draft if he's there at pick number 22. Even if you went in and signed a free agent guard and brought back Zion Johnson, Vega Ione, the amount of praise that he gets, not just for his play on the field, but his character, how he is in the locker room, his athletic ability, his ability to play in a gap scheme system as well as his own scheme system. He is the ultimate offensive lineman. So to me, if Vega Ione is there at pick number 22 and the Chargers do not take him, that is malpractice on the organization's part. He is just so talented. Now, does that mean that he can't come in and be a bust? No, not necessarily. There have been plenty of guys who have turned out to be busts that were supposed to be these great picks. But when I look at a guy like Vega Ione, I have a hard time seeing him be a bust. Remember, when you saw all those weird Kotelnicki offensive line motions, offensive linemen lined up in the slot, and then they'd move him in to make big blocks, that was Vega Ione. Vega Ione is a special talent, and everyone that I trust that have gone out and scouted him, they say he is the ultimate offensive lineman. I would love him there. The other potential pick that they could go with is Caden Proctor. Now, what's fascinating about Proctor is it's clear the potential is there. So you're going to have to trust that this coaching staff is going to be able to build him up. He's the type of player that is big enough to play tackle while also strong enough and mean enough and physical enough to play that guard role. Kind of sounds like a guy like Mekhi Becton, which I understand why there are some Chargers fans that are saying, I don't know how I feel about that. This is a different situation. You'd be getting your hands on Proctor very early in his career, and you'd be able to mold him. A guy who's obviously come from the Alabama Crimson Tide. I do believe that Proctor would be a good second choice, especially if the Chargers make it clear that they're going to grab one of those potential starting guards in the NFL draft. I want you to decide down below in the comment section right now, where would you prefer the Chargers go and get a replacement guard for Mekhi Becton? Would it be an NFL free agency or in the NFL draft? Free agency type F, NFL draft type D, down below in the comment section. Say it loud and proud. We're always very intrigued on what you have to say. The other big move, and this is going to be a little bit lesser than of importance, I guess I should say, in this video, but it might end up being of more importance when we talk about free agency and free agency moves. That's Odafe Oweh. Now, the Chargers had an opportunity to franchise tag or transition tag their premier edge rusher, Oweh. They decided to not franchise tag or transition tag him coming up on the NFL deadline. That has already come and passed. So we know that Oweh is going to be, as Peter Schrager would say, a pure free agent. Now, what I do find interesting is that while Oweh is not going to be the number one edge rusher target, he's going to be someone that is in the top 3 to 4 guys that teams go after. You can tell that he's had a lot of success in this type of defense that the Chargers are going to want to run, and as well as the defense that they are going to run in Baltimore because his old defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter, is over there. Now, it is important to note that Oweh is much more of a get after the quarterback type of edge rusher as opposed to someone like a Khalil Mack who can do it all, right? He's going to get after the passer while also doing a great job of stopping the run. Right now, I think if you ask my gut reaction, I have a hard time seeing the Chargers bring back Odafe Oweh, not because they don't necessarily want to, but because he is going to be such a coveted piece in NFL free agency. Now, that doesn't mean that the Chargers couldn't target one of the other free agents that are in this class. I think it's clear that they've made no bones about it. They want to return Khalil Mack, which I do think is going to be an option. I just have a hard time seeing the Chargers run it back with both edge rushers. Tuli's obviously had a fantastic career so far, so maybe there's a belief that the Chargers are going to be able to go into the draft. There's a lot of edge rusher talent that the Chargers could go after. It's also important to note that general manager Joe Hortiz has been he's leveled a lot of praise when it comes to the free agency class for this NFL offseason when it comes to that edge rusher position. He has said multiple times that he really likes the depth. So there's a possibility that the Chargers say, hey, we're going to allocate more funds towards a wide receiver, more funds towards our interior offensive line, and we'll go and grab an edge rusher that's going to be able to do a lot of the same things that Oweh was doing while spending a little bit less capital on them. So right now I do have a hard time seeing Odafe Oweh return to the Los Angeles Chargers. Doesn't mean it's not possible. There's plenty of time for things to change, but that's kind of where I sit right now. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video. Make sure that you hit that thumbs up button if you love the Chargers. The more likes that we get on videos, the easier it is for me to go to my bosses and say we need to cover the Chargers more. Also, hit that subscribe button, NFL Free Agency. It's right around the corner. You don't want to miss it. Plus, whenever there's big news, breaking news, we're going to make sure that we have you covered here with all of that information. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video, and bolt up.